Former NFL cornerback Adam "Pacman" Jones just dropped multiple bombshells about the Cleveland Browns that have Shedeur Sanders fans absolutely celebrating and the entire NFL world talking. From exposing an alleged conspiracy between Kevin Stefanski and a CAA agent that explains why Shedeur Sanders got buried on the depth chart, to revealing that Deion Sanders would only coach in the NFL if it's with the Browns and his son, to claiming Stefanski lost the locker room through blatant favoritism, Pacman is holding nothing back. And now, with CBS Sports reporting the Browns are preparing to make Shadour the 2026 starter, with Andrew Berry praising his growth, and with the rookie finishing strong by leading back-to-back wins, including his first career game-winning drive, everything Pacman said is coming true. This isn't speculation anymore. This is vindication for everyone who watched Stefanski bury a fifth-round steal behind fourth-string quarterbacks and knew something shady was happening behind the scenes. Smash that subscribe button right now because we're about to expose the CAA agent conspiracy, break down Deion's shocking NFL conditions, and reveal why Shedeur Sanders fans are about to get exactly what they've been screaming for all season long. Let's start with the absolute nuclear bomb Pacman dropped on his Politely Raw podcast that sent shockwaves through Browns Nation. According to Pacman, there's an alleged connection between Kevin Stefanski, Shedeur Sanders, and a CAA agent that explains why the young quarterback who is projected to go in the first or second round mysteriously fell to the fifth round and then got buried on Cleveland's depth chart behind guys who had no business starting over him. Pacman specifically said on his show that he was exposing an alleged link between Coach Stefanski, quarterback Shedeur Sanders, and the CAA agent that explains why the young quarterback received no reps during training camp and the first half of the season. Now let's be crystal clear about what Pacman is alleging here, because this is explosive stuff that goes beyond normal coaching decisions. CAA, Creative Artists Agency, is one of the most powerful sports agencies in the world, representing hundreds of NFL players, coaches, and executives. If there was some kind of arrangement or understanding between Stefanski and certain CAA-affiliated quarterbacks or personnel that led to Shadour getting blackballed despite his talent, that would be a massive scandal that explains everything Browns fans witnessed this season. Why did Shadour, a guy who threw for over 9,000 yards and 70 touchdowns in his last two college seasons and was Mel Kiper's top-rated quarterback before the draft, fall to the fifth round when teams with massive quarterback needs passed on him multiple times? Why did the Browns draft Dillon Gabriel in the third round and immediately make him the backup, while Shadour was buried as the fourth-string quarterback behind Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, and Gabriel? Pacman's theory is that there were behind-the-scenes forces at play, agent relationships and favoritism that had nothing to do with football talent and everything to do with who represented who and what deals were made. And when you actually look at what happened during the season, his conspiracy theory starts making a lot of sense. The Browns started the year with Joe Flacco as the starter, even though Flacco looked completely washed in preseason. When Flacco struggled, they turned to Dillon Gabriel, the third-round pick out of Oregon, who got all the first-team reps in training camp, despite Shadour being the more talented quarterback with better arm strength, better accuracy, and more college production. Gabriel started and looked terrible, going 1-3 as a starter with awful decision-making and poor pocket presence. And through all of this, Shedeur Sanders never got a single first-team rep in practice, never got a chance to compete, and was essentially told to sit down and wait his turn.
It wasn't until Week 12, after the Browns traded Kenny Pickett and finally ran out of excuses to keep Shadour buried, that they gave him his first start against the Las Vegas Raiders. And what happened? Shadour led them to a 24-10 victory, completing passes all over the field, showing off his arm talent and proving he should have been starting from day one. He finished the season going 3-5 in 8 starts, which doesn't sound great until you realize he never got first-team reps, was thrown into games with zero preparation, played behind an offensive line that used 25 different starting combinations, and had a receiving core that lost Amari Cooper mid-season. Despite all that chaos, he threw for 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns, and showed enough playmaking ability that CBS Sports is now reporting the Browns are preparing to make him the starter in 2026. But Pacman didn't stop with just exposing the CAA conspiracy. He also went nuclear on Kevin Stefanski's game management and his treatment of Shedeur during games, specifically calling out what happened during the Titans game when Stefanski made one of the most baffling decisions anyone has ever seen. Late in the fourth quarter against Tennessee, with the game on the line, the Browns scored a touchdown to make it a one-point game. They had a choice: kick the extra point and tie it up, or go for two and try to win. Stefanski decided to go for two, which is already a questionable call, but here's where it gets absolutely insane. Instead of having Shedeur Sanders, the starting quarterback who just led them down the field, on the field for the most important play of the game, Stefanski pulled him off and put in a different formation without Sanders. The two-point conversion failed, the Browns lost by 1 point, and Shadour wasn't even on the field to try and win the game he'd been playing all day. Pacman absolutely destroyed Stefanski for that decision, and he wasn't alone. Stephen A. Smith went on ESPN and said it made absolutely no sense for Stefanski to leave Shadour off the field for that two-point attempt. Fans were furious. Even casual observers who don't follow the Browns closely looked at that decision and said there's no logical football explanation for why you'd bench your starting quarterback on the most critical play of the game, unless there's some kind of personal issue or agenda at play. And that's exactly what Pacman has been saying. Stefanski had favoritism, he had biases, and he never believed in Shedeur Sanders, despite the kid's talent and potential. And then Pacman dropped another revelation that has Deion Sanders fans and Shedeur supporters absolutely losing their minds with excitement. When TMZ caught up with Pacman outside Paramount Studios and asked him if Deion Sanders would ever leave Colorado to coach in the NFL, Pacman's answer was specific, definitive, and game-changing. He said if Deion Sanders ever makes the jump to the NFL, there's only one destination he would seriously consider: the Cleveland Browns. Pacman explained that Deion won't coach against his own son Shadour under any circumstances, so even though there are 9 NFL head coaching vacancies this cycle, Cleveland is the only job that makes sense, because that's where Shadour plays. Think about what that means. Deion Sanders, the Hall of Fame legend, Coach Prime, who's built a massive coaching brand at Jackson State and Colorado, would turn down every other NFL opportunity just to coach his son. Pacman said it explicitly. Deion's not going to go and coach against Shadour. That's first and foremost. If it happens, it would have to be Cleveland. And Pacman didn't just speculate. He painted the picture of what that would mean, calling it a one-of-one scenario, where Deion coaches his son at Jackson State, then at Colorado, and then potentially in the NFL, all at the same team. That's an unprecedented journey in football history that's never been done before. Now, here's where this story takes a massive turn that has Browns fans split right down the middle. According to multiple reports, Deion Sanders actually did reach out to the Browns asking for an interview after Kevin Stefanski got fired. This wasn't some media-created rumor or speculation. Deion genuinely wanted to be considered for the job so he could reunite with his son and help develop him at the NFL level. But the Browns rejected his interview request. They said no to Coach Prime. According to Cleveland insider Tony Rizzo, the reason was health issues. Rizzo went on air and flat out said Deion's got health issues, and that's why he doesn't think Deion's the guy for Cleveland.
But now, with Pacman confirming that Deion would only coach in Cleveland if given the opportunity, and with Shadour trending toward being the 2026 starter, the what-if scenarios are driving Browns fans absolutely crazy. What if the Browns hire someone else and that coach doesn't believe in Shadour? What if they bring in a coach who wants to draft a quarterback or trade for a veteran, and Shadour gets buried again? What if the one coach in the world who knows exactly how to maximize Shedeur's talents, his own father, wanted the job and got rejected because of health concerns that might not even be as serious as reported? And here's the kicker that's making this even more dramatic. Pacman also revealed on his Black Monday episode that Kevin Stefanski lost the locker room and that favoritism is what got him fired. Pacman said Stefanski showed favoritism to certain players, certain coaches, certain schemes, and that the veteran players in Cleveland saw through it and stopped buying in. When your own players don't respect you anymore, when they see you making decisions based on personal biases instead of what gives the team the best chance to win, you've lost the team. And losing the team is exactly what gets coaches fired, which is exactly what happened to Stefanski. Multiple Browns players, including 5-time Pro Bowlers and veterans in the locker room, called for Stefanski's firing before it even happened. They saw the favoritism. They watched Shadour get mistreated. They saw Dillon Gabriel getting chances he didn't earn. And they knew the organization was making decisions that had nothing to do with winning football games. When Stefanski finally got fired on January 5th, exactly 2 weeks after the season ended, the reaction from players was telling. Nobody came to his defense. Nobody posted emotional tributes. Nobody said the firing was unfair. It was crickets, which tells you everything you need to know about how the locker room really felt. And now we're seeing the aftermath play out exactly how Pacman predicted. Andrew Berry, the GM who survived while Stefanski got fired, held a press conference where he praised Shedeur's growth and development. Berry said they saw a lot of progress from Shedeur both mentally and physically, complimented his playmaking ability, his accuracy, and his capacity to extend plays with his feet. Berry gave him credit for improving his pocket management and situational awareness throughout the season. That's not the kind of language you use for a quarterback you're planning to replace. That's the language you use when you're preparing to build around someone. And CBS Sports' Jonathan Jones confirmed exactly that, reporting that sources say the Browns are preparing for Sanders to be their starter next season and hoping to build around the quarterback to get better results in year 2. Think about the significance of that report. After drafting Shadour in the 5th round, after burying him on the depth chart all summer, after finally giving him a shot in Week 12 and watching him go 3-8 in 8 starts while completing 56% of his passes for 1,400 yards, the Browns have apparently decided he's the guy. They're not drafting a quarterback in the 1st round, they're not trading for a veteran, they're rolling with Shadour and building the offense around his skill set. And that decision is vindication for everyone who's been screaming all year that Shedeur Sanders deserved better treatment. Mel Kiper Jr., the most respected draft analyst in the business, has been defending Shedeur non-stop since the season ended. Kiper went on ESPN and said he doesn't know what else the kid needs to prove himself. Kiper pointed out that even Josh Allen had haters in years 2 and 3 of his career, so of course Shedeur can't avoid criticism as a 5th-round rookie. But Kiper said he's watched every single play, every single snap of Shedeur Sanders' rookie season, and the kid should be proud of what he had to survive. Kiper specifically mentioned that Shedeur never had any training camp reps, never practiced with the first-team offense or defense, got thrown into games in brutal weather conditions, and still showed enough talent and resilience to win the starting job.
Kiper then went even further, destroying the narrative that Shedeur struggled as a rookie. He said if you're going to sit there and tell me you weren't impressed with Shedeur Sanders' rookie year, then you weren't watching the same games he was. That's the most respected draft expert in America putting his reputation on the line and saying Shedeur Sanders is the real deal and the Browns need to commit to him instead of chasing another option. And apparently, that's exactly what Cleveland is preparing to do. But the Deion factor still looms over everything because Pacman made it clear that if the stars align, if Deion's health improves, if he decides he's finished what he started at Colorado or wants to take the next step in his career, Cleveland is the only NFL job he'd consider. And imagine what that would mean for Shedeur's development. Instead of learning from a random offensive coordinator or a head coach who doesn't fully believe in him, he'd be coached by his father, the man who's developed him since he was a kid, who knows every strength and weakness in his game, who's built his entire coaching philosophy around quarterback development. Deion turned Jackson State into a relevant program by recruiting his sons and building around them. He took Colorado to 9-4 in his first year, with Shadour and Travis Hunter leading the way. He's proven he can develop quarterbacks at the college level. Shadour threw for over 9,000 yards and 70 touchdowns in 2 years at Colorado before entering the draft. If Deion brings that same developmental expertise to the NFL, and specifically to Cleveland, where Shadour is already on the roster, the Browns could finally solve the quarterback problem that's plagued them for 25 years. But the Browns said no to Deion's interview request, and now they're interviewing 9 other candidates, trying to find the right coach. They've talked to Jim Schwartz, Todd Monken, Mike McDaniel, Jesse Minter, Grant Udinski, Nate Scheelhaas, and others. 6 of those candidates are getting called back for second interviews. Decisions are being made this week. and whoever gets hired will inherit Shedeur Sanders as the likely starter and will have massive input on the quarterback situation going forward. For Shedeur Sanders fans, Pacman's revelations are vindication. The CAA conspiracy theory explains why he fell in the draft and got buried on the depth chart. The locker room losing faith in Stefanski explains why the coach who mistreated Shadour got fired. The CBS Sports report confirms Shadour is being prepared as the starter. Andrew Berry's praise shows the organization values his development. And Deion's willingness to only coach in Cleveland if given the chance shows that even though it didn't happen this time, the door might still be open in the future if things don't work out with whoever they hire. Browns fans who've been defending Shadour all season, who've been arguing he should have started from week 1, who've been calling out Stefanski's favoritism and questionable decisions, are celebrating because everything Pacman said is being proven right. The conspiracy was real, the favoritism was real, the mistreatment was real, and now justice is being served. Stefanski's fired, Shadour is getting his shot as the starter, and the Browns are finally building around the quarterback they should have been developing all along.
The next few weeks will determine everything. The Browns will hire their new head coach. That coach will evaluate Shadour and decide if he's truly the starter or if they need to bring in competition, and free agency and the draft will shape the roster around him. If Shadour gets a real off-season program with first-team reps, a full training camp, an offensive coordinator who designs plays around his skill set, and a coaching staff that actually believes in him, there's legitimate reason to think he could take a massive leap in year 2. Pacman Jones didn't just drop rumors or hot takes. He exposed secrets, revealed conspiracies, and predicted exactly what would happen with the Browns and Shedeur Sanders. And now Sanders fans everywhere are rejoicing because the kid who got disrespected, buried, and mistreated all season is about to get his vindication and his chance to prove he's the franchise quarterback Cleveland's been searching for since 1999. Pacman Jones's revelations about the Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski, and Shedeur Sanders have sparked massive controversy and given Sanders supporters hope that the rookie quarterback will finally get a fair opportunity in 2026. Whether the Browns' decision to prepare Sanders as their starter will lead to success or another cycle of quarterback chaos remains to be seen. The information in this story is based on Pacman Jones' statements on his Politely Raw podcast, reports from CBS Sports, ESPN, TMZ, NFL Network, Andrew Berry's official press conference, and various NFL sources covering the Browns' coaching search and quarterback situation. The CAA conspiracy allegations come directly from Pacman Jones' podcast. The situation continues to develop as Cleveland finalizes their coaching hire and roster decisions.